Hey guys, welcome back or welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be reading scary camping stories. I was going to do this while I was camping and I still could because I'm going again this weekend, but I'm going to freak myself out if I do that and I don't want to be not sleeping for the whole weekend. So we're going to read them in the safety of my home. I am a bit ill, my voice sounds weird, that's why. I was away for about 2 weeks straight and I didn't take into account the fact that there wouldn't be any service /Wi-Fi / good Wi-Fi. So I've been inactive. Not that anyone really cares, but yeah. Okay, I think we'll get right into it. This is 17 people discuss their creepiest camping experiences. This one says strange noises coming from the woods. I already hate that so much. About 10 years ago, my wife and I went on a road trip around Nova Scotia, camping in public and private campgrounds along the way. One night we were miles away from any real campground, so we asked at a restaurant if there was anywhere we could camp for free for the night. We were told there was a public park on a cliff overlooking the ocean near Antigonish. We drove up there and we were the only ones beside an older couple in a fifth wheel. There was an old lighthouse right there near the parking lot and we set up our tent on the grass near our car and the base of the lighthouse. Pretty bad idea, as all night long the light would blink on for about 2 seconds, then off for 3, then over and over again all night long. I cannot sleep in light, that would be hellish for me. Around 2 in the morning we started to hear very strange noises coming from the woods that surrounded the clearing on all sides except the cliffside. Moaning, humming, crying type noises. Very strange. That, coupled with the on and off blinking lighthouse, made for a very unsettling night. The walls of the tent would light up and we kept expecting to see a silhouette of an old sea captain hovering over the tent. Ugh! I hate that when you don't know what the noises are. Like, maybe it was just animals. Maybe. But that's just creepy. That would keep me up all night, definitely. Weird camper named Hatchet. While backpacking across the Appalachian Trail, stupid idea, in North PA, a friend and I finished hiking up a very large hill and were ready for lunch. We had planned on eating at a shelter that was another 2 miles down and up another hill. After some discussion, we decided to eat at the shelter as there would be water. Well, as we arrive at the shelter, we come across who we initially thought was another hiker. But no, this guy was carrying an old school backpack and was digging for crumbs out of the bottom of his Fritos bag, so he seemed out of place. We asked if he was backpacking or day hiking. Never making eye contact, he matters out backpacking. We then asked if he was section hiking or through hiking, as in doing the entire trail. He looks up at us with a weird look and says, I'm just hiking through. After a little bit more talking and avoiding all our questions, he just quickly said, I gotta go. As he packed his bag, we asked what his trail name was so we could look out for him in the logbooks. He clearly had no idea what we were talking about, and this struck us as odd as anyone, because who hikes at the AT knows that trail name and is usually the one they go by. I don't get that sentence. Whatever, we're gonna move on. After sort of explaining what we meant, he said, oh right, it's Hatchet, which was obviously a load of crap because this guy was holding a pickaxe in his hand when he said this. Well, we continued hiking and we reached our camping spot and we settled for the night and woken up by Hatchet rustling through my backpack. Now my friend and I are both used to hammocks and I had my backpack wrapped around the tree and my hammock was hanging on, so he ended up shaking my entire hammock. I screamed hey and he looked in my hammock, stared right at me for a second, then bolted. By the time I got out of the hammock he was nowhere to be seen. Turned out he'd stolen a pack of tuna from my bag and a couple of granola bars from my buddies. We never saw him again. The weird part was when we got back into town and ate lunch at a diner, turns out old Hatchet was on the run. There was a wanted poster hanging up on the door. Turns out 2 weeks prior he had mugged a couple, leaving one guy pretty bloody. The whole thing was pretty freaky. We gave our statement to the police but never heard if they caught him or not. Ooh, that's good. That is good. On the run in the Appalachian Mountains, that's crazy. Well, on the Appalachian Trail, I'm sure they're different things. Oh, I don't like the sound of this one. Beetles falling from trees. I went camping with my husband and our 2 kids. At night we were sat at the picnic table playing cards and beetles of all different types kept falling from the trees, flying around us, crawling up the table, etc. They kept getting bigger and more weird looking. My daughters were freaking out to the point of almost crying, so we decided to get in the tent. When I got in and I turned around, my daughters screamed that I had a beetle on my back. I wasn't freaked, but I told them to brush it off, but they wouldn't come near me. When my husband came in, I turned around and asked him to get it off. He screamed and wouldn't get it off either. At this point I knew something was totally huge and was freaky crawling on me, so I ripped off my sweatshirt and threw it outside. I didn't talk to my husband for the rest of the night. Fair enough. It's quite hot in the UK at the minute, and in the UK when it's like slightly hot it feels roasting. Like, I can deal with 35-degree heat away, but as soon as it gets over 20 degrees here, it's just unbearable. So I'm a bit glowy, that's why. This was the very last time she went camping. I actually read this story on Reddit a couple of years ago. It was a woman relating a story about the last time she ever went camping, and it went something like this. She was a very good accomplished camper and survival enthusiast. She enjoyed going on solo trips for 2 weeks or so, completely on her own. She explained that she would stop and hit a store a couple of hours before her destination to get some supplies, and that would be it for people. During her last trip alone, she saw one guy by the store in a truck park along the road fishing. She never saw another person after that. She would see bears, moose, wildlife, but that's it. She spent her time reading and just travelling around. I can't lie, that sounds really, really nice. I would like to do that. Except I'm a scaredy cat and I'm terrified of everything, so maybe not. During each trip, she would take 10 to 14 disposable cameras with her. A couple of days after one of her trips, she took the cameras to be developed. When she got them back, she was sitting at home looking through the pictures. Oh, I don't want to know this. I don't want to know what she saw in the pictures. I don't want to know. Once she got to the 5th or 6th roll, she almost had a heart attack. Every 3rd or 4th picture was a picture of her sleeping on a different night. She swore she didn't see any other person anywhere. She explained that she has never gone solo or camping for that matter ever since. Her husband could not get her to go anywhere near the woods after that. No, actually, no. That's horrible. I can't think of anything more horror movie coded than that. That's terrifying. Stayed in a haunted cabin. I like the sound of this. I love to stay in a haunted cabin. Once I stayed in a cabin in Arkansas facing the river. I don't know how I know how to pronounce all these things. I'm like so impressed with myself every time I pronounce it correctly. Maybe I'm saying it completely wrong and butchering it and it's really embarrassing for me, but I don't care. One side of the cabin was almost all window with no blinds or anything, which made me feel really creeped out, especially the first time it got dark and you couldn't see anything outside. I hate that. I hate the thought of that. The first night we stayed there, this beating started on all sides of the cabin. It was loud and eerie and fast-paced, moving from one wall to the roof, etc. A few times the gas-powered fireplace would roar up and then go out. The TV would turn on and just be static, really cliche stuff. We would also hear whispering at night because I was too much of a wuss to sleep with the lights off after the first night. We left the hall light on and the bedroom door shut and locked until we started seeing shadows under the door. Nah. We got the out of there. I don't know if this place was poorly built or people were messing with us or what, but the shadows under the door were way too much for me. Camping is fun though, give it a chance. Despite being scared as hell, this is one of my fondest camping memories. That's not camping. Staying in a cabin is not camping. But that does sound terrifying. I've adjusted a little bit because I need to be comfy. Ignore that. Caught in a tornado in the woods. I have a story like this, I'll tell you afterwards. A tornado, no tales of monsters, ghosts or campfire murder stories, sheer natural terror. Groups from 8 to 14 years old, miles away from our parents, all gathered in little rickety bunkhouses with mattresses against the windows and scared to death. Luckily nobody got hurt. When we were walking to arts and crafts the next day, we saw a massive tree ripped out of the ground, roots and all. I had no idea they had that kind of power. Even 20 years later, I feel lucky to have gotten back home alive. That is intense. My story isn't as intense as this. We were at a festival one year. My dad's a trader, so I go to a lot of festivals. He has a big van, and this one place we go to this festival every year, it's always got really bad wind basically. But one year there was a crazy storm, crazy mile-per-hour winds, like insanely fast. All the fields were evacuated, including our one, but we had nowhere else to go, so we had to get back into our field, and we were like arguing with the security guy trying to get back in our field to get by my dad's stall, because that's where we were sleeping. He had to stay in the stall, and the whole time I just remember thinking, oh my god, he's dying, like he's definitely going to be dead right now. The stall was collapsed on him. He was like holding the stall up so none like everything wouldn't go everywhere. And we were in the van for hours. I just remember, and the van was shaking. There was no electricity, so there was like maybe, it was me, my mum, and then a couple of her friends, the people who were working with us and stuff. I just remember the van like shaking, and we were just all huddled around these candles, and it felt like a horror movie. I remember just thinking, I feel like this van is just going to flip over and we're all going to die. And the wind was so incredibly loud, and I just remember like praying that my dad was okay in the store. I really thought that he would have died in there. It was insane. I don't know, maybe like 70 mile/hour winds, which is insane. Maybe more than that, I don't really know. I can't really remember, but it was mental. I think I might do a couple more. I enjoy this. I haven't done a sit-down video like this in ages. I enjoy it. They performed an exorcism in the woods. Nice. Our whole camping group was in the big party tent, cracking jokes, talking, laughing, being typical noisy, tipsy teenagers. When the noise hit a full lull, it just got quiet enough for someone to hear a barely audible chanting. Everyone shut up right now. One of us cracks this entrance zipper open a tad and looks out to behold something none of us could really comprehend or process for a few minutes. A family was rocking back and forth near the fire pit, muttering incantations in an attempt to perform an exorcism on their mentally ill, disabled children who were in the centre of the circle. They gradually got louder and the rocking got more violent. They started shaking the kid as we all looked on, trying not to draw attention to ourselves. Many crazy moments we had. Flipping hell, that's mental. I'm thinking maybe 2 more. Odd carvings in the trees. Around 18 months ago, when my girlfriend and I first got together, we were camping regularly with a couple of friends in a large ancient forest. We would go in, why am I all the way over here? Sorry guys. We would go in, set up the tent in the light, have a barbecue and some beers, and then sleep. Well, our friends would. We went several weeks running, same routine, different friends each time, until one night we decided to leave the tent and return later so we could get some more supplies. We returned to the tent at dusk, but found a stick figure made from twigs at the entrance of our tent. We smoked a bit, had some booze. One of our friends, who reluctantly joined us on this occasion, turned strange. He disappeared into the woods, which we found strange, as he was petrified of going into the woods, and then we could hear nothing but singing for at least an hour. He eventually returned, and we continued our party until it started to rain heavily, at which point we decided to call it a night. We woke up the next morning and decided to pack up the tent. It eventually became obvious that the trees surrounding our tent had the same shape as the figure carved into the bark. We pretty much rushed to get out of there and came across a still burning fire pit surrounded by felled trees. This was the final straw, so we ran the remaining mile back to my car. I have to add that the woods I'm talking about has a history of deaths and suicide, and has also reports of witchcraft too. In fact, the surrounding of 20 miles has quite a lot of stuff like that. That sounds like some cult stuff is going on in that woods. That sounds like some proper cult stuff is happening in that woods. Crazy laughter in the trees. I don't want to read this one. I'm camping in a tent by myself this weekend. By myself. I don't want to read this. I was camping in a tent in the middle of the woods. Luckily, it won't be in the middle of the woods. It'll be at a festival. It was not an actual campground, but no one else was around, just me and my bro. We were having a good time, drinking and enjoying a nice bonfire. We went to sleep around 2 a.m. or so. I was awakened by a sound, a combination of mechanical laughter and screaming. Oh my god, that made my heart stop. Someone just started laughing outside my house. Oh my god, I actually felt my heart jump. It sounded high up, as if in the air. There were also noises that I could only describe as coconuts falling from the tree and banging on the ground, yet only pine trees were surrounded us. We freaked out and stayed in our tent until it, or they, went away. We never found out what it was. God, these are like addictive. I want to keep reading these. I'm gonna. It was a short, white, solid-shaped figure. Sounds great. Just after finishing our GCSEs, a group of my friends and I went camping. The weather was naff, and on the whole huge campground there was pretty much just us and a group of Irish scouts, so we ended up hanging out all together along with the youngish guys who ran all the activities on the site. Technically, any activities had to be booked and paid for in advance, but these guys were bored. They let us do anything that didn't involve expensive equipment for free. They sound rather nice. On our last night, they took us on the pathetically unscary ghost walk. It was so wussy that we took over in the end and just started telling them creepy stories. When we were pretty much ready for bed, our group went across the field to our tents, all laughing and joking, until one of the other girls stopped loudly and said, "What's in front of our tent?" There was a short white figure pacing around in front of one of our tents, about 30 feet away from us. It was dark, but we could all see it was a solid looking shape. One of the girls screamed and it stopped pacing around and rushed at us. This is a horror movie. This is a horror movie, what the hell? I've never run so fast in my life. I lost my shoes halfway across the field and kept going straight onto the tarmac road and down to the activities building. We went back with about 20 scouts and some burly guys with big lanterns, and there was nothing to be seen. Who knows, it was probably just mist or something, but it was scary at the time. Hadn't put me off camping though. Man up, OP, and get your rear in a tent. That's all I'm going to do for now because my throat is killing me. But I think I'm going to go film another video as well. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll be back again very soon to talk about absolutely nothing. Bye.